A letter from Grandpa from back in 1982. For the people that knew Joe Kempner, knows that he was very intelligent and real big on history. And he was a real straight shooter. So whatever he told you, he did his research on it, I guarantee you. So I hope y'all enjoy this letter. It's been in a box, and I found it a year ago, and some stuff he'd always send us, and just wanted to share the thoughts and just a little timeline here from way back in 1982. Stay tuned. I'd like to add that my grandpa Kempner served in 3 wars and served in the Air Force, and he retired Air Force. Later on became a civil engineer, helped design the F-16 fighter jet out of Fort Worth, Texas. So he's no slouch of a man, and true patriot, veteran, and a leader of the country. So enjoy the letter from Grandpa Kempner. And y'all, thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. I'll just cut to the chase and quit beating around the bushes. But the younger generation today has no respect for our forefathers' history. So it's something that they really need to start teaching in schools again, and teach the truth of it. Don't just teach one side. The war was pure hell on both sides, brother killing brother. And the war was not over slavery like we were told. It was a part of it, but as I get into this letter, and I know a lot of people argue with me that, but it was not ever started over slavery. That was just a sidekick. So the South is not the devil they were made out to be. They were really good-hearted people, and we still are today. So if y'all don't like what you hear when I read the letter, then just comment and we can chat and talk about it. Stay tuned. Before I read it, we are from the South, and none of us were alive back then to know the 100% truth of everything that might have happened back in the Civil War days. But historians had wrote each side down, so you take from what your family told you, and I'm just telling you here what my family told me. I don't hate the North or stand for some of the things that happened in the Civil War. It's just a letter and a piece of history I'd like to share from our family. And that's it. It's nothing about anything other than that. So hope y'all enjoy the letter. June 17th, 1984. Dear Ronnie, I know that you was glad to get back home. I hope it will be possible for you to come back in this area again sometimes and finish seeing at least the rest of the Smithsonian Institute. There is so much more to see. The Museum of Natural History, the Museum of American History, where all the prehistoric animals are, and American historical things. We went to Gettysburg yesterday. The Battle of Gettysburg took place in 1863 during the Civil War. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania was as far north that the Confederate Army got. The Civil War started in 1861 over the high taxes, tariffs that the North was charging the South. Repeat that. The Civil War started in 1861 over the high taxes that the North was charging the South on cotton and other things such as lumber, corn, beans, etc., that the North needed for manufacturing and food. The freeing of the slaves was just a side issue, not the main issue, not the main cause of the war, as most people think. General Robert E. Lee, the building that we turned around at, right in the middle of Arlington National Cemetery, was General Lee's home. General Lee was in the U.S. Army when the Civil War began. As a Southerner, he chose to lead the Confederate Army. Lee's overall score when he graduated from West Point Military Academy was the highest score ever attained, and no one has ever made a higher score. General Douglas MacArthur of World War II fame attained the next highest score. Ed Offer, a graduate of the War College of Montgomery, Alabama, told me that General Lee was considered by military tacticians to be perhaps the greatest of all military leaders. The Civil War was between the North and the South. Even some brothers and fathers split over their beliefs and joined different sides in the war. Your great-grandfather, Pugh, although only 13 years old, was a soldier in the Confederate Army. Actually, that was my great-great-great-grandfather. He never fought in a battle, although he was inducted and issued a uniform during the closing months of the war. A side note, my great-great-great-grandfather Pugh, I was told also that he had became imprisoned in a Yankee prison camp in Ohio and became greatly sick, almost to death. He was able to escape, and he walked, evading arrest and all that, from Ohio all the way to Atlanta, Georgia. I couldn't imagine that walk. And when he made it home, he was nursed back to health. And this is the picture I received of him. So that was a long walk, and what he must have went through was, imagine, pretty nail-biting. I'm going to get back to the second part of this letter. Grandpa, he worked all day, and he hand-typed these letters, so I could tell he was tired when he was typing it. All right, here you go. The pictures of the tanks came out fine. We will pick the ones up that we took at Washington, D.C. tomorrow. We still have several things to send you. Information about Fort McHenry and a booklet on the Constellation. Fort McHenry was where our national anthem was written during the War of 1812 by Francis Scott Key. Key was a lawyer from Georgetown, which is now part of Washington, D.C. On board a British warship under a flag of truce trying to release an American politician. While he was on board the British ship, he received orders to attack Fort McHenry, which protected Baltimore Harbor. All night the British ships bombed Fort McHenry, but their cannon kept the British at bay. As our national anthem says, at the dawn's early light, our flag was still there. Repeat that. At the dawn's early light, our flag was still there. This same flag is displayed in the American Museum of History, showing the bullet and shrapnel holes caused during the battle. Most history books cite Francis Scott Key as a prisoner when he wrote our national anthem. This is definitely wrong. In a few days, you will have the entire story and pictures, along with the story of the USF United States Frigate Constellation. I believe it's a big ship. Those old sailing ships have greater history than any modern U.S. ship. The history of this great nation. You kind of get off here. Too bad the school system waits so long to teach it. I can only thank God that I had a grandfather that knew some of his relatives that were in the Revolutionary War, War of 1812, Indian War, knew some that fought at the Alamo, a son in the Spanish-American War. Beside the wars, he could relate first-hand stories about the evolution of the steam engine, the internal combustion engine, and electricity. Today, we are all too prone to take these things for granted. Ronnie, get a good glue to secure your other pictures we're going to send you. You never can tell where we will be next year or the next. We certainly enjoyed having you with us. The time was all too short. Love, Grandpa. Wow. What a grandpa. Sounds like I had some really good leaders, forefathers. And I'm sure you do too. But my grandpa Kempner flew me to Washington, D.C. first class on Delta in '84, spring break. I earned my summer break, and I spent 2 weeks with them out there. And so this was our trip to D.C., and this was his reply letter the day before my birthday. Yeah, Grandpa Kempner survived many tough times in his life. Like I said, he was in the war and a leader, so he had to make a lot of decisions and smart decisions. He was a very smart man, and he's got kids. He's got my mom, Mary Ann Kempner, her oldest brother, Joe Kempner Jr., and I believe Sharon was the third born, Sharon Kempner, and Mike Kempner. And he has several grandkids, Dana Rose, David Rose, and Ronnie Foster Jr. I believe there's a Landon and Lance Kempner. I know there is. And several other I didn't get to meet on the Mississippi, Alabama side. But Grandpa sure did nail it right at the end of this letter. I'll read it one last time and call it a deal. But we certainly enjoyed having y'all. The time was all too short. Love, Grandpa.